The world's gone crazy, nothing makes sense. Chips costing bucks a bag, you can't pay your rent. The border's wide open, white people are bad. Trainers trying to teach your kids and everybody's mad.
Well, here we go, Dave. Another episode of The Twisted Times. This is beginning to feel natural. I'll ask you, what's going on in your world, and do you have something you want to talk about today?
We're back, man. What do you think about Hollywood, man?
I mean, you can go down a million roads with this thing, right? Grew up an enormous movie fan. You've been with me to Sundance several times. I've been to the Sundance Film Festival probably 15 times. But that
one of the greatest times of my life, by the way.
Yeah,
Sundance is fun. Yeah,
they're great time. But I haven't been in 10 years.
Yeah,
because the nut job side of the left is taking over the industry. So I don't think it's a whole lot like it's a whole lot different than other industries where you get a few people at the top who hire more people underneath them, who only hire more people like them underneath them, and so on and so on and so forth. It's just like Washington, D.C. I mean, look, Nikki Haley won the primary there in D.C. today. That should be of no surprise to anybody. That's how nuts Washington, D.C. is. It's as left, it's as blind, crazy left as any city in the world. And that's where most of the cases going after Donald Trump, Jack Smith wants them to be. He didn't get his way with what's going on in Florida. So DC is a prime example of just for decades, the corrupt, insane people at the top have hired more of their people. And it's why everything's so broken. I think Hollywood is just, a poster boy, a case study for that exact same thing. I was reading, I'm a big classic movie fan. I love Frank Capra films. They make you feel good. And so I watch a lot of those. I have a subscription to this obscure site called Retro Reels. I think I pay $5 a month for Retro Reels.
Retro Reels, okay.
Yeah, $5 a month. They got a zillion old movies. And, Hollywood back in the 40s, with some of the leaders of the studios, believe it or not, was committed to producing non-offensive content. And Frank Capra would have been like the epitome of that. And along the way, the people in charge lost control. I mean, again, look at Walt Disney. Walt Disney knew, I read his biography 3 times. He knew that if he lost control, as he took more money and lost more control, and he needed the money to keep being inventive. People think Walt Disney took the money for the money, and maybe he did, that I don't know about, but he took a lot of the money because the guy was brilliant and he was building stuff and inventing stuff, and he had IP on all kinds of the ways he was, changing the way he made animated movies and other movies. So he needed more money because they were running out of money constantly. So he took more money and he lost more control. And the more control he lost, the more you saw movies come out that maybe wouldn't be things Walt was in favor of. And then when he died and the studio really began to drift, and eventually, the Hollywood mobsters took it over, Disney today is unrecognizable. I mean, the company I grew up loving is a company today I won't give a nickel to. I have 2 kids and we don't have a Disney subscription. And when we go to Florida, we go to Universal, but we do not go to Disney because Nickelodeon is nowhere near as woke and crazy as Disney is. And it's reflected. And there's a lot of people out there that hate Disney, won't give them our cruise ship money, won't give them anything. So when I hear that Hollywood blackballs people for not taking the jab, I just kind of yawn and go, I'm not surprised by it at all. That's who they are. There's a little group at the top that pulls the strings in it for everybody else. And most of the people I've met that are actors and actresses are truly some of the stupidest people you'll ever meet in your life. I mean, they're just morons, most of them. And they're the ones whose opinions we're supposed to, care about. I'll shut up in a second, but I'll tell you why I'm thinking about it. I've got a younger daughter, she's 9, and she likes pop music and such, and I control it. I do it. Coming from the background you and I come from, I've got a pretty good handle on things she looks at.
Yeah, sure.
And so we're listening to some music. I think we were listening to something from Sing. the original soundtrack, and Ariana Grande was on there with one of the songs. I said, you can like the song, but we're not gonna like her. I mean, she's not the Nickelodeon little princess she was before.
Yeah.
If you didn't think that was, she had a song come out when she was trying to prove she wasn't like the child they had raised in Hollywood. I think the song was called 34 plus 35. It's one of those. And it's the dirtiest song you know, it's a crazy dirty song.
Yep.
So every time we blink, they want somebody that you think's okay for your kids to listen to or watch. Let them watch it one time, and you've got explaining to do like no other. So I'm not surprised that what's her name, Drea DiMatteo? Is that Matteo? Is that her name?
Drea DiMatteo. Yep.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that she got blackballed for not taking the shot. So did a lot of others. I mean, look what they've done to Mel Gibson, and he, hard to defend him on some of the things he did, but the other things they blackballed him for is it's insane.
Well, even people that are calling out the pedophilia in Hollywood, they're getting blackballed. There's like Jim Caviezel, who you know arguably is just a great guy. You know, he's gotten his share of licks in the process as well. I wonder how long Hollywood's going to be relevant, though. I mean, if you think about, you know, again, you and I go way back on concerts and movies and stuff like that. If you look at what happened in the music industry after LimeWire and Napster kind of changed the industry and changed it from, you know, artists really have to tour or make money on social media in order to make money. Now you don't make money off album sales the way you used to. Although there's different royalties and streaming that artists have, but they have a little more control over their music too with some of the social media stuff. But the entertainment industry is very different. With Hollywood, if you look at streaming, you know, it started with what was the Redbox? It started with Redbox, and then Netflix saw what Redbox was doing. They're like, hey, we could do that way better. And then Netflix started the streaming service, and we started going down this path. Now Netflix has now made this total about face, and they're starting to bring into rotation old shows. You know, you've got Friends, and you've got Seinfeld, and you've got all these other, you know, my 21-year-old son likes Family Ties and Growing Pains, and you know, these old shows that are now all of a sudden better than stuff that you find on TV now. So I wonder how long Hollywood's actually going to be relevant in the form that it is. How long will we have blockbuster motion pictures? Is that dead?
I don't think they're relevant right now anymore. I don't think they're that relevant. I mean, if you look, for me here in Nashville, you know, Daily Wire moved here. So Ben Shapiro packed up, left, brought everything to Nashville, and is making TV shows. He's got a kids channel streaming service called Bent Key that we subscribe to.
Yeah, so, how is that? How is that, by the way? I don't have littles anymore, so
it's great, and it gets better all the time.
Okay.
They started up, but they've got a bunch of fun shows. I have not seen one single objectionable show yet.
Is it old shows in syndication too, or is it all new
content?
Not
that I've seen. It's all new content.
Okay.
Yeah, but stuff coming from there's a group of 3 Australian guys that work on. It's like a science show with them blowing stuff up. You know, they constantly are dropping you know, they're dropping. The other day they had a helicopter and they were dropping stuff into the blades of the helicopter and filming it on slow motion. And my kids were
cool
into it, man. And it didn't have to be the stuff that Disney's trying to do and throw into all of their stuff by the programming that, you know, they've been built to over the last 10 years. So Daily Wire's here, and they're making original content and programming. A lot of independent movies getting out there that are finding a way for us to watch. And you talked about Jim Caviezel and some of the other ones. We buy those movies independently. And that movie, well, his last movie crushed it at the box office. I do think where Hollywood is relevant is the blockbusters. And I think it's just a fascinating study. What's his name? John Nolte from Breitbart loves to just destroy Disney every time another one of their movies comes out, and he bombs. He's got all the data on Disney bombs. He's like the king of destroying Disney when another movie bombs, and he can blame it specifically on the same group of people that were back behind the production of wasting all the stockholders' money, right? But if you look at the biggest movie of last year, at least for families, was Super Mario Brothers movie. And guess what? There's not a single objectionable thing in there. What it was a great movie. We saw it the day it opened, but we had it on our calendar circled, and it was a great movie. We loved it. We bought it afterwards. We wanted to show our support to the studio, and the movie was #1 worldwide. the Sonic the Hedgehog movies have been great. Nothing objectionable in the Sonic the Hedgehog movies. Guess what? They're funnier than hell. So, you know, right now the new Dunes come out, right? And so the first Dune movie, I thought was one of the greatest science fiction movies.
I thought it was fantastic.
Fantastic. And so that is a time where you go, man, I want to celebrate Hollywood. I love the big blockbuster. I want to go see it. And so the next Dune, I think it's coming out anytime now. I want to go see it. I want to go to the AMC theater where I still have a platinum membership.
Get the popcorn with the real butter.
I get all the stuff. If I could bring my kids, I bring my kids and their friends. We get a whole row. But I go to the show now, the theater, probably 1/30 of what I used to go. I used to go see everything. And now I just kind of hate most of them. You know, I hate the studios, a lot of them. I hate a lot of the actors and actresses. And I know something, Dave, when you live in America, you know, when you feel that way, you go, I'm not the only one. So you begin to look at this sheer rejection of most of the crap coming out of Hollywood right now. And the market usually finds a way to course correct these assholes. And the DEI correction happening in the market right now is just fantastic. I mean, you're watching BlackRock rescind DEI policies. You're watching, it's even happening in academia. I mean, where you're actually seeing people realize, if you look at what's happened with Harvard with the Claudine Gay or whatever her name was, they're realizing that choices have consequences. When you hire on anything but merit, you dilute your product, regardless of how and when you do that. I said when I realized they were serious about DEI. Well, first and foremost, I was invited like 5 or 6 years ago to a think tank discussion at the University of Michigan. The kids were off for a week, and KPMG held a summit there, and they invited 30 entrepreneurs from around the world to go do like this deep dive into think tank talk. And I took the invite to be a collaborative, right? Like we're going to be there and really collaborate and discuss and build. And I think the overall theme was like the power of positive thinking. And I would say maybe an hour. And I looked around the room and I didn't know what people were about. We introduced ourselves, a lot of people from the coast. That should have been my first clue. But it was just an all-out attack on Trump. It was attack on Trump. It was attack on whatever. But they went down the DEI path, right? And they said, hey, if you're, it's a story. If you're have two candidates, one's black, one's black, one's white, and they're both equal at the end of the interview process, what do you do? And the teacher was pushing heavy for you hired the black candidate to remedy social ills. And I would say 75% of the room agreed, and a few agreed in a big way. And I stood up. I go, I don't agree at all, you know? And they said, well, what do you mean? What do you mean? I go, what would you do? I said, I tell you exactly what I would do. I would ask more questions. You know, I would ask more questions. And if they still were equal, I'd ask more questions. But if I never could discern the difference between the two, I would defer. But I most certainly would not hire one based on how they looked. Either way. No way, no how. And I watched you do that over the years. I mean, I worked for you almost 18. Well, I worked for you for 18 years. Yeah. And I watched you make decisions based on merit every single time. Yeah. That's important. I think. So Hollywood's the poster child for the wokeness. Disney made a movie called Lightfoot, right? It was the Buzz Lightyear solo movie. Okay, interesting. Yeah. I didn't see that. It was terrible. It was terrible. And they had a parental scene with this lesbian couple in the Lightfoot movie where they have an animated kiss on screen. You know, kind of sort of who cares in the big picture thing, but it was so foreign to the plot. It was a woke, insane producer, director, writer, all of them, some of them, I don't know, who just needed to get that in there. You know, they had to get it in there. And it felt awkward. You came out of the movie and you looked at the reviews and go, oh, I'm not the only one. And Lightfoot shit the bed because Disney was jamming it down your throat. Disney's Turning Red movie. You go, I don't get this movie. What are they? And sure enough, one of the senior people, I don't remember which one it was, writer, director, producer, was one of them, maybe all of them. It was actually about, it was symbology for your period, you know, like turning red. And you didn't tell us that when we took our 7-year-old daughter to go see it.
Wow.
So they're just shitty and unaware, and we hate them. And I think that's showing, you know.
Well, I again, you see this sort of U-turn, this switch to these people seeing that what they're doing isn't working. I read that Disney is going to abandon all the Marvel, you know, all these tired formulaic things that they're doing with Marvel, and they're changing their programming, recognizing that people aren't buying it. People aren't buying into that stuff. They're not buying that same formula over and over again. They're not buying the stuff that is, you know, listen, I'm the last person to say I want to dictate how you live. I believe people should be able to live the way they live, but don't force your agenda down my throat, regardless of what it is. Don't force it down my throat.
We're sick of it. We're sick of it. The best movie I've seen in the last year was Wonka, the prequel.
That was great.
It was
unbelievably great.
I loved the movie. I loved everything about the movie. It was everything Hollywood used to be, and saying used to be, I mean 60 years ago. I'm not talking. This is a long time coming. So I'm not saying it's the best movie in 60 years, but it's everything that Hollywood used to be.
I thought it was fantastic.
It just was, everything was right about that movie. It was a big story, it
was an adventure. It was romantic. It was an adventure. It was magical. It was
right.
It's what Disney used to be.
That's right. My kids were transfixed when we saw Wonka.
I was transfixed.
Yeah, so was I. So was everyone I know that went and saw it. They went, wow, what a great 2 hours in the theater. The crap they're turning out.
Tina and I went to see that as a date movie. We didn't even take kids to it.
I think that's good. I wrote a review on
fantastic.
Facebook, and I told everybody, so listen, I went and saw Wonka, you should go see it. And adult friends where I live here said, hey, because you wrote that, we went and saw it and we loved it.
I think seeing that was part of why we went and saw it. We have some friends, actually our next door neighbors, that saw it over a break, when did it come out? Thanksgiving or Christmas?
Somewhere, I don't remember.
Anyway, whatever holiday it was, they went and saw it over the holiday with their college age kids. Like, this movie's great. It wouldn't have occurred to me to see it otherwise. Although I love Gene Wilder's Willy Wonka. I mean, what a great.
It's
movie.
A compliment to Willy Wonka.
It really is. It really is.
But there's other stuff out right here. Nickelodeon, even though Paramount has I have all kinds of issue with Paramount. It appears, and I have not studied this, so I could be way wrong, and we may hear feedback on it. But it appears they've kind of left Nickelodeon alone, and Nickelodeon appears to not be insane. And so Nickelodeon produces a lot of shows that we watch around this house. And so we love the Thundermans. That was a 4 or 5 year series. And there's a new movie coming out, I think, on March 7th, where the Thundermans are getting back together. It's going straight to Paramount streaming. And we have it circled on our calendar. Well, we'll sit around and make popcorn, and we'll watch Nickelodeon stuff at night, because Nickelodeon's funnier than hell. And they've managed to keep I don't know if it's clean cut. It's just not offensive. You know, there's nothing in there where you go, man, I hate these guys for doing this.
Now, do you think any of that? There was some scandal that just came out. What was it? Somebody just came out saying that Nickelodeon. Maybe not. I'll have to look that up and dig into it. There's some.
Listen, I'm sure there's enough Nickelodeon child stars that are all kinds of problematic later on. You know, so I'm sure that exists. I'm saying, so I don't know anything about what went on behind the scenes at Nickelodeon. I have no idea. Haven't studied it, but I do know they make good, fun stuff that appears to be family oriented and clean cut. And we don't find it objectionable, and that's unlike Disney. And I think. So going back to your original question, the beginning of all this or comment is, I'm pretty sure they weren't firing people or blacklisting people for not taking the jab.
Yeah,
because the ownership or the push down leadership usually is pretty predictable, and you've seen that in the corporate world left and right.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I got one more question to ask before we close, Steve, and that's what do you think about technology as it applies to technology AI as it applies to movie making? You used to want to be a film director. You've written screenplays. That used to be something you wanted to do. Now you've got Have you seen the State Farm commercial with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yeah, I've seen write-ups on the State Farm commercials.
Okay,
I haven't seen the commercial yet.
so Schwarzenegger sold his likeness, I think. Like it's not Schwarzenegger, it's CGI.
Yeah, it's
It's got to
wild.
be, yeah, it's got to be CGI. So
He probably looks great in the CGI, right?
he looks like a claymation character actually.
Okay.
But then Bruce Willis is suffering from whatever it is,
Yep.
dementia, Parkinson's, whatever it is.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, his estate sold his likeness. And I watched a movie in the middle of the night the other night. I couldn't sleep, and I brought up some movie, and I watched some movie with Bruce Willis in it, and it wasn't him, but it was his likeness and his voice, but it wasn't
Wow.
him.
You
It's
think
just
Elizabeth? You think
weird.
Elizabeth Shue could sell her likeness from the same age she was for Back to the Future? Laura said that's my one. That's my one gimme.
Elizabeth Shue.
Elizabeth
Nice.
Shue during the Back to the Future years.
Top of
Listen,
the
man.
list.
I said I don't care. I mean, here's the thing. If you're going to entertain me,
Yeah.
if you're going to entertain me, so I'm like one of the few people that liked the last Indiana Jones movie. Right? I liked it, and so. Dial of Destiny, yeah. In Dial of Destiny, Harrison Ford let them digitize him to make him look much younger. So they shot a lot of it with him looking like a younger Harrison Ford. Great. I loved it. I thought, what a great use of technology. I believed what you just did and said, and I liked the movie. So for me,
I didn't hate it. It wasn't the greatest Indiana Jones, but I didn't hate it the way other.
But there was
people did.
time travel at the end, and
Yeah,
so
well, I mean, you're a sucker for that.
I'm a sucker for anything time travel, man. I'm the one guy that watches Outlander. Okay, so right.
I read the books. The show's unwatchable for me, but I read the books.
Yeah.
Did you? What's the greatest time travel movie you ever saw?
Oh, it's Back to the Future. I've seen Back to the Future so many times I can't even tell you. I have books on it that study it. I'm in a couple of groups online that analyze it. I haven't seen the play yet in New York, but a friend of mine saw it a couple of weeks ago, so I do want to go. Oh, she said it was fantastic. I mean, it's sold out all the time, so I want to go see Back to the Future in New York. But that's to me a great time travel. I tell you, it's a great time travel book. Is 11/22/63 by that asshole Stephen King.
Yeah.
I don't love Stephen King anymore because he is. It's so funny that he can be so stupid and yet be such a great author in some ways. I loved his recent book Fairy Tale. I said I'm not going to buy any more Stephen King books. Then he writes this book called Fairy Tale. I read that book in 2 days and was like that. Great book. And 11/22/63 I think is one of the best time travel books ever.
Did you read the Time Traveler's Wife? I mean, did you watch the Time Traveler's Wife?
Yeah, of course. I loved her. What's her name?
Man, I'm trying to think of
Rachel.
What is her name?
You know her.
Rachel something. Yeah. She's amazing.
But anyways, I loved it.
Rachel McAdams.
Rachel McAdams. Yeah. So she was great in that. So anyways, technology and being able to sell all of it's great. I think what you probably were getting at is what happens when they begin to use this to fool us, and the technology becomes indiscernible from real world stuff. It's funny how many of the Hillary Clinton clan were afraid of that around 2020. I don't know what kind of intel they got, but they did a whole PR campaign on beware of deep fakes. There was this deep fake, and when the same talking heads all emote the same story, they must have been afraid that some kind of real video was going to leak, and they were already blaming it on deep fake. If you go study it all, you'll see it's Adam Schiff, it's Hillary Clinton, it's John Podesta, it's all the same horrible humans warning us of deep fake technology. And I think that's probably what you were getting at. What's the effect on society? Well, God, it's going to be a problem. And Elon Musk has a lawsuit right now coming against OpenAI, and it's regards to some of that. It's regards to, I think the point of the lawsuit is we've got to know if it's AI created.
Yeah,
we've got to know it.
It's got to be a way to discern it. Pretty soon, it's going to be indistinguishable.
Yeah, it's going to be indistinguishable. And but again, if something like what you said, if Bruce Willis has dementia and his estate wants him to still be in movies as a money-making vehicle for them and a way for his fans to enjoy him like he used to be, and if it's indiscernible, I don't know that I have a problem with it. I just haven't thought about it enough yet.
The last thing I'm gonna say is, please don't make it suck. If you're gonna make Die Hard 26, just don't make it suck.
I heard the new CGI in Dune 2 you can't tell. You can't, because it's like all CGI and you can't tell.
Can't wait to see that. You know, Dune was one of the epic books of my childhood that I just devoured the Dune series. Well, especially Dune, the book Dune. The rest of them, God Emperor, Dune. Frank Herbert kind of lost me at that stuff, but the book Dune was brilliant. The original movie's actually kind of fun as a cult classic, but Dune the movie, oh, one of the best movies I've ever seen.
And that's the same kid from the Wonka movie.
Timothy Chalamet, yeah. He's
is that how you say his name? I read it all the time.
Timothy Chalamet, and then Zendaya, who's the other the actress there. Just what a great pair. And if you watch the interaction with them outside the studio too, it's pretty fantastic. Anyway, man, that's it. That's a good conversation, I think. I think you mentioned Elon Musk. Huge fan of Musk. I think we need to talk about Neuralink sometime.
Let's talk about him. But we could do a few shows on Elon Musk, and basically he's a hero. We should build a statue to Elon Musk one day.
Yeah, for sure.
And so we'll talk about what he's done and what he knows and how he communicates what he knows without giving away too much, because they'll bounce him from his status if he tells more. So we can talk to you that in days and days to come. But this is just a fun one, a quick one on Hollywood and how fucked up they are.
Watch the space too. Elon Musk will be on the show soon enough.
Yes, that's right.
Right.
All right, man.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. Have a great night. Yeah, you too, man. Be good. Bye.
The border's wide open. White people are bad. Trying to teach your kids, and everybody's mad. Twisted time. There's all twisted time.